Joining me today is Abraham Makar, one of the many people who migrated to Australia well before the church was established 50 years ago. Abraham, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the migration story and start in Egypt.
Well, my dad applied for migration to the Australian government and to the US government and to the Canadian, and he got accepted in Australia. We're supposed to migrate to Australia in 1967 via ship, but it didn't happen because of the Six-Day War. That migration got delayed into 1968, and before migrated, my mum saw Saint Pope Carolus VI, asked for his blessing. We were going to Australia, and he said that God bless you, and may you not see one day without food. And then on the 12th of April 1968, we travelled from Cairo to Athens to pick up the ship. And we gone around Africa, and our destination was Melbourne. When we got to Melbourne on the 13th of May 1968, we caught a bus to the train station and went to Albury-Wodonga, which is the migration camp, because we didn't have any relatives here in Australia. From there, my father stayed with us for a couple of weeks, and then he went to Melbourne to find a job to establish a home. But he could not find a job. It wasn't successful to find a job. So the Australian government mentioned to him, go to Sydney, where next year there will be a Coptic church established in 1969. Will be established in 1969.
So did he then go to Sydney?
He did go to Sydney, and he found a job, and he established a home for us. Then he called us to come over in Sydney. And the Coptic congregation was in a Salvation Army church, with just a community of listening to a mass via tape and talking about issues for the Coptic migrants.
So this was the hall in Redfern, the community hall?
That's correct.
So you got together in the community hall and just listened to pre-recorded mass?
That's correct.
Right. And how many people would there be in that group, roughly speaking?
Oh God, I think must be over 100. So it was quite a fair bit. But,
yeah, decent amount.
But as more time comes, there's more people.
So this all happened before the arrival of Father Mina.
That's correct.
So let's talk about then the arrival of Father Mina and what happened after. What changed in that Redfern church?
Okay. Father Mina, when he came, he changed the church. He built an altar, specifically to the Coptic Orthodox style. And he also tried to start Sunday school, and created for the altar boys and built all that to start a proper church and pray meetings, as well as look after the community needs, whether it be they needed a job, whether they needed to find a home or a flat to live in. He looked after them in every way. Just within that community, he looked after. And then when people knew that Father Mina is in Sydney, anybody migrating to Australia, or especially to Sydney, sought help from him continuously, whether it be Christian or non-Christian. And he always went to the airport, picked him up, looked after him, and set him up at least for living, and then showed him how to find a job, and so on. So he helped so many people.
So then coming out from Redfern, the next church to be established, actually purchased, and it was the first church purchased outside the Nile, was the Sydenham Church, St Mary and St Mina Church in
That's
Sydenham.
correct. It was a Pride of Joy, and they put St Mary and St Mina sign on it. There is pictures of that, where Tony, his son, helped put up the sign. It was a beautiful time, because this is our church, our first church, and Father Mina always loved to pray. He never is, even though he's the only priest, he prayed in his church. He prayed in Newcastle on Saturdays, and he prayed in Melbourne, and sometimes to help the congregation there.
So he did a fair bit of travelling.
Did a fair bit of travelling. This is also looking after the sick, the needy people. I don't know where he gets his time from.
He was a very, very blessed man.
He is.
You mentioned earlier that Pope Kyrillos gave you the blessing from Egypt to migrate.
That's
and said,
right.
may you never see a day without food.
That's right.
Did you ever see a day without food?
Almost. Almost.
Really?
I asked my father for, I was going to school and I needed some, a loaf of bread, and he didn't reply or gave me the money. But later on, there was a knock on the door, and my mum wasn't hospital for a long time, and that lady was my mum's boss at work. She said, here's her wages that she hasn't collected for a while.
The same day?
Same day. Same, I think an hour, whatever, afterwards. I can't remember exact timing. So it was amazing. And this is one of the first or second times that happened to me. So it was interesting.
That's a great story.
Pope Kyrillos' word never goes down.
No, of course not.
He's what he says.
So heading back to the church in Sydenham, the congregation obviously started growing. What kind of services were being established to help the congregation?
To help the congregation is he...
Was there Sunday
there was he actually, what he did is got the social worker to come to church, and some of them are Egyptian, to talk to the people for their needs. So he did in terms of getting all these issues out, and even though to that social worker would go to the Australian government as well.
So Father Mina arranged for a social worker to come.
Yeah, he's Egyptian, and he asked for people who have issues with, whether it be a home or a flat or need a job or that, because in the old days there's no government services. So I guess Father Mina is doing the government services for the Coptic Church.
So then His Grace Bishop Samuel arrived as well.
Yes, Bishop Samuel arrived, I guess, on Pope Kyrillos to check to see how the church is going, what's their need. And also Father Mina wanted some readers and altar boys to be ordained, and he made the list for Bishop Samuel to ordain. I was one of them, and I'm supposed to get ordained by him in Egypt, but I didn't get a chance. So but when I came here, I got the chance. I don't know how it happened, but I'm only a qari. I'm a poor person from that one.
So you were meant to be ordained by Bishop Samuel back in Egypt.
But in Egypt, in
Yeah.
Saint Mina's church in Shobra.
That's a great story.
Yeah. I missed by 1 year, but I still get done.
So moving forward then, you can see all the hard work that Father Mina Namatala did for the
Yes.
church, and he received recommendations like the Order of Australia Medal,
That's right.
and he became a JP as well, a Justice of the Peace, and became a very important figure and authority for the Coptic community in Australia.
Not just the Coptic community and for Australian government, but also for the Egyptian government, because he helped so many others, and the Egyptian government needed his help because there wasn't an embassy then as well. There's no Egyptian embassy then in Sydney.
Wow.
So he did a fair bit of work.
What are your memories of Father Mina?
He is a soft-spoken man, loving man, and he won't say a word that hurt other people. I haven't seen a person that would be accepting what he gets from others, but he would love them more. So he's a loving person, a truly loving person. I hope I'll be just a little bit like him.
I know that he really loved prayer as well, even right towards the end of his life.
That's correct. Father Mina always loved praying, even though he's so sick. And he loves not only praying, but he loved his congregation. He sits there and speaks to everyone and smiles at them, even though maybe he's in pain. But he had a beautiful smile on his face that makes you remember God, that he's always with him and for everyone.
So I guess you have lots of wonderful memories of the establishment of the Coptic Church in Australia.
Yes, I think the church, all the priests, including Father Mina. Father Mina is the start of the church, but all the priests here work extremely hard to get all the services up and running, to look after the congregation. And I wish that every Coptic thanked them, respect them, and loving them, including our Archbishop Daniel and all the archbishop. And look at it, how many archbishops have been created, especially from Sydney, especially from the group that of Father Mina started, and other priests continued on with it.
Yeah, bishops that were...
Bishops here, you got Bishop Angelos, Bishop Suriad, Bishop Daniel
from the monastery.
And there is monk priests as well. There's so many monks around. So it's a blessing that started with Pope Carolus' idea, right through where all the priests and the popes, and even Pope Shenouda. Pope Shenouda said we came on the top of people who worked hard. They were hard work, and I think we should celebrate it with loving and caring for each other, and we hope to celebrate this 50 years with happiness, and no one should miss out. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you so much for your time,
Thank you.
Abraham. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.